What I do is inconsequential. Why I do what I do is I get to shorten people's journeys every day. What I love about our hospitality industry is that it's our mission to make people feel cared for while on their journeys. Together, we'll explore what hospitality means in the built environment, in business, and in our daily lives. I'm Dan Ryan, and this is Defining Hospitality. Today's guest is an interior design connoisseur with a special focus in the hospitality world. She has over 15 years of experience designing for some of the most luxurious and iconic properties in the world. She is a trailblazer at her company, being the first ever promoted to managing partner back in 2020. And she's now the principal at Tihany Design. Ladies and gentlemen, Alessia Genova. Hello, Alessia. Welcome.
Hi, Dan.
It's so good to see you. I've wanted to have this conversation for a super long time. And I know that, having been a fellow New Yorker with you and been at all the places in Milan and New York and just seeing your career really just skyrocket. And now you're the principal at Tihany, which is like such an iconic firm and worked on such storied projects, which we'll talk about in a little while. But like, it's just so cool to have been on that like career train and life journey with other people where we kind of, I'm older than you, but like just starting kind of at one place and finishing up somewhere so incredibly, and not that we're finished by any stretch of the means, but like, I'm just so like awestruck and proud of you. And like, you're just awesome. And thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you, Dan, for having me here for this kind words. I think you are the one of the first person I met in this industry, and now, I have to buy a company to talk to you again. That's quite demanding, but thank you for having me.
So we talk, and I want to get into that in a minute, but like we talk to so many people, from people who work at large companies to entrepreneurs to people who are thinking about making the entrepreneurial leap. But I don't think that we've spoken to anyone who's actually believed in the company so much that they're working in that they actually buy it. And I think that that's just really awesome and an incredible experience that I'm just happy for you to talk about, because I think, there's the journey in life and business is, it can go any which way. There's like 1,000 different directions. There's no one way to do anything. And again, it's just incredible to hear your story, and thank you for sharing. But before we get into it, you've been a designer for, I'm sure, almost as long as you can remember, and really focusing in hospitality for almost 20 years. What keeps you in hospitality? Like, what does it mean to you? Why do you love it so much?
Well, I don't know if I have one definition for hospitality. Even if I knew this question was coming, so I think of it like every day, no, because it is what I do. So I do think why I do what I do and why I love it, and I think the main reason is surely like the relationship I have in this industry with everyone, meeting like from the clients to the colleagues to the vendors and the people we interact every day. I mean, hospitality, I think, is for me is like I say a people to people environments or relationship, and then depends if we talk about the hospitality industry, hospitality design, but every time we talk about hospitality is something that has to do with how we make people feel, and what we want for them to experience. So it always goes to the first question. It always goes to feeling and the care that we have for the others. So it's really like this personal relationship that then when we talk about design, we shape it through design, through the different phases of design, starting with the way we see a space, we organize a space. So the way we move people through spaces, and not just the guests. I mean, if you think about hospitality and even the meaning like of hospitality and being hospital is about this relationship of the guest and the host, right? So we shape space that well, we need to take care of the two parties. I mean, we need to take care of the guest, but we need to take care of the host, because to host, to be a good host, and so he has to have a well planned environment for themselves, right? So I mean, it goes from everything we do and we think is ultimately about people feeling and creating space where people can interact in a way that can create these special relationships.
Thank you. And I want to go back to something when I introduced you as far as working on some of the most iconic projects in our industry, like as far as like history goes. So, um, everything from the Breakers, the Beverly Hills Hotel to, you want to rattle off a couple more? Because I just want to like set the stage for where the conversation is going to go as far as like looking back at like the foundation, but also looking forward and how this provenance that you have um, with is really like a great foundation, but also like the exciting paths forward you may take as leader of your company.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reason I started here, and I'm leading the firm today, is because I always really appreciated and share in a way Adam vision on deciding what type of project to work on and to take on, and that's it's surely something that I hope I can continue on the same philosophy and path. But I mean, there are like, let's say, few or three like elements that are key every time we decide or evaluate what is the project that we would love to work on or we think is the right fit for our firm. And like the iconic project you mentioned is, I mean, who doesn't want to work on such a project? So is the pride of being able to be involved on such beautiful properties, and you really do it because you love what you do. I mean, you don't do it for other reason. You really do it for the satisfaction that you can have on, say, like I just was able to work on that property most of the time. A property that you experience when you travel and you do. You don't necessarily spend all your vacation in all this property, especially when you start as a very young designer, as I did, right? I mean, as an intern, it was a dream of like going in these places, and eventually you grow and you understand that. I mean, an understanding of this space is what I've also designed them in a certain way. And then there are like other aspects which are like, that as a going back to the people behind, the project, and the people behind this property always been very, very kind people, I would say, like, people that is a pleasure to work with, people that to respect and understand that design. Well, they might have their own opinion, but they take care of their property. I mean, and talking about a couple of the one you mentioned, iconic. This is what make us also good designer, I have to say, because we can do a good design that is well thought, is well conceived, designed. I mean, eventually get well executed, and then they take good care. So years pass by, and with some of these, like the Beverly Hills, goes back more than 13 years ago. I mean, I think when we really started design to completion, the Breaker is more than 10 years we work with them, and they eventually called back and asked for like a refresh, which is kind of, if you think about it, a refresh. You're like, you want to redesign it because you want to do it, but you think like, they just want to refresh. It means that it's still like very, very relevant. And, in a way they were able, as I said, to really keep it up to a good point. Um, but this is what we are, I think, I would say good, or what we like to do is to do things that last in time. And so go after also project that um, have I mean, they look for something that, everyone talk about timeless today. So I don't know if like, what we define as a timeless, but we don't go after trend. Usually we go after something that can be a very classic design, can be a model design. It's not that we have a stamp on what we do. It's not that every design we do is very different.
Yeah, but I want to go into timeless in a minute. But if I really think about just the two hotels that we've mentioned, as far as the Breakers and the Beverly Hills Hotel, if you look at them as bookends or brackets on the United States, on the continental United States, there aren't very many, I'll call them grand dams. I don't know if I said that the right way, of these types of projects or these types of properties that exist within the United States, and that story of that opulence of whether it's Hollywood or Palm Beach. Like I remember as a kid, my grandmother lived nearby, like lived in Boca Raton. I remember my mom took me to the Breakers once, and I had to wear like a blue blazer with brass buttons, and she made me dance with her on the little. I'm like, it was almost like a cruise ship, like what I would envision that experience, like the big band and all that. But it was a hotel, and we had just. I remember the dinner. I remember dancing and being like really embarrassed, but um, it's not often that people get to work on these types of projects, and I would say that the level of project like that, what are there, 15 or less of those types of grand dams within the United States, maybe 10. We could come up with a list, but we don't want to waste the time on that. But there's such like a level of like respect and history that you were brought in to work on these projects. And it's, to me, it's the ultimate compliment to get repeat business where they ask you to come back. And how do you balance that, like these really iconic foundational projects as a first principle foundation, and then also as you're now the leader and owner of Tihany and you're plotting it and charting a course forward. How do you find that balance of like staying true to your roots, but also, you're vibrant, you're young, you're energetic, you're incredibly hardworking, you have an incredible team, like, and I know that you're going other places as well. Like, walk us through that.
Well, I think is and that's the challenge I have, and you know partially, as I said, doing this, you can call it trophy project, iconic project. And yeah, there are not as many, but there are like around the world, not just in the United States. It's something that, as I said, is part of what the firm has been doing and has built the reputation on. So it's something that, as I said, everyone will be thrilled to do it. So, I'm super, I mean, for me, it's an honor to not only keep doing it, but doing it now under my leadership, because it really means that, again, as a firm, we are, the clients knows what we can deliver. And this is one of my first commitments. Then it's going after other project that, can show, a different sensibility, because, that are very specific and they are in a way similar to each other. And they're also a renovation of, they're not new build and stuff like that. So that's why in our like, portfolio, in our like, range of project, these are something that there are a lot that if you ask me like which one you want to do, I have like, a name for like each type of a project that could exist out there. We are doing that, but we are also doing, some new high-rise building that, for a reason or another, one have like their peculiarities, so can become like, the one-off or the first off. That I think is more the philosophy. Like we always try to find, the iconic or something that has not been explored, or something that, is just the novelty of like, and try to create a path. And, for example, to go back to your question and this, how to express also my sensibility for, we are expanding more work in Europe and Italy, because, the type of project you do there is not comparable to the US. First of all, the scale of the project. Second, in Italy, it's almost impossible to find a new build. So you almost have to deal all the time with, old building, and the sensibility is different. It's not Florida and it's not. So that is a way of showing, a different aspect or a different part of, well, what the firm can do, where the firm is going. But as a few years ago, for example, we've been the first one doing luxury, expedition cruise. I mean, now like the cruise intended as like small yacht or yacht for like all these luxury brand is something that is the norm. I mean, everyone is doing it, everyone is going after. But like how many like expedition cruise there are, like with the design, sensibility and things. And that's what we go after. I think is not just like the iconic. You can find something that in theory is not that iconic, but you can make it iconic in a way. So this is a bit like the philosophy of like when we look for project. There are some that can be a bit more, uh, like something we haven't done or has not been really explored to the point where it should be. I think in the industry, and that's what we are trying to do.
So I heard you say a couple of words repeatedly since we've been talking. One was reputation, and two is relationship and people. Maybe third is people. Um, obvious, maybe it's not obvious, but I really believe we all stand on the shoulders of those before us, right? And when we and I just also want to tap into a previous conversation I recently had with Julie Frank, who's now at Aspen Hospitality. She worked at Tihany. She had and Adam was like a real mentor to her and gave her some really great advice that changed the course of her life. Um, if I think of Adam, and I've met him a couple of times, I don't really know him, but like as I see him in the industry and as a legend, right? But you've also been working there for nearly 20 years and you've bought the company from him. He's a mentor to you. Julie had this like sliding door moment where he gave her this advice to like go on a different path that was unexpected. As you were working there and really walk us through the conversation or the thinking where it was like you're like, I love this place, I love the name, I love the reputation, I love the people that work there. This is something really good. I also respect everything that Adam had built, and like, how did that conversation even come up? Was it like nerve wracking? Was it natural? Um, and what gave you the courage to take those steps? Because it's a huge undertaking, not just financially as an investment and in believing in this and making the investment, but it's an undertaking in just your life force and energy and making this all go forward. So just walk us through that. How did it all come to be where you are right now?
Well, you don't plan everything in your life, I think. And this is surely, let's say, it was not planned up to a certain point, but, it was not planned. And yeah, Adam is, surely someone that in the industry made a stamp, I would say, is the first one that started the the restaurant design as we define it today. So it surely, and it taught me a lot and has been uh, an amazing mentor. Let's start that I met him like when I was 19, and first time I talked to him, he looked at me and is like, so what do you want? And obviously all this in Italian because my English was today is still like not that great, but at that time was really zero.
It's better than my Italian.
But Adam Italian is like quite. He can fool you saying that he's me from Milano and you believe him. So, he was just talking to me in Italian, say, so what do you want? And I was like, just first year of university. Do you think I really know what I wanted? No. But I just said, I want to work for you one day. And he like, give me a business card. Then the day after I sent the first email, then the first he put me in contact with at that time was Caroline Him. It was like the studio director here, which has been here for quite some times. And I remember she sent me an email saying, "I know you met Adam, and please send me your portfolio." And I was like, "Portfolio? What is a portfolio?" I mean, portfolio is not an Italian word, so I have no idea what it is. And I said, luckily I would say, I said, I think I'm not ready yet. I probably need to. I don't have one that is ready to show to you. And I kept writing at him every like 2-3 months with some excuses that I knew he was coming to Milano. I saw the launch of his book, and eventually he's like, so what do you want? I said, nothing. Eventually work for you one day. So after 4 years, I sent back my portfolio. And, I remember Carolyn denied that, but I remember very well. I show it to her and she's like, I don't see anything great, but the graphic is good. So as you met Adam already, I believe we can hire you as an intern. I said, okay, that's, good enough. I mean, and from there, like, every step I stepped in as an intern and I had to go back to university to finish. That was 2008. So for a year, I took a break and then I came back. And at one point, I was stuck. I was actually working in Rome. Then I came back to New York, and I for 3 months. And then I said, Adam, I want to stay here. And he's like, well, no, I don't think so. And I was like, well, why not? And it was like, no, I mean, you can stay in Rome. But, I didn't really listen to him. So I did all my visa application on the side. And literally 3 days before my day of going back to Italy, he's like, do you really want to be here? I said, yes. And I was like, okay, so do what you have to do. I mean, the deadline for the visa was like 3 days after. So I just give him the paper, he signed it, they came back. And, when you come to New York, you always think that is like, I don't know, you stay 3 years at the maximum, and then it was 6 years, and then you get up and down, and you don't want to stay in New York anymore. And then you get your green cards, and now you're stuck. You can't, go because you have your green card. So, and then you're 10 years, and then you're like, so what is next? And, New York is home. And one day, just, was, before COVID, so 2019, I just talked to Adam and I, honestly said, this is home, but I might want to do something for myself and, just by myself. I mean, I really don't want to go work for anyone else. That's not what I want. But I don't know if I just want to, keep doing what I'm doing. And it was not a reason that I didn't like it. It was more in my mind, some freedom on, decide that I think being far from home and what this was before COVID, that if you want to work a week from home or wherever you want to be in the world, you can do it. So I think in back of my mind was like, oh, if I do my own things, I don't need to ask for a vacation days, very, very, way stupid motivation probably, but, was a need. It was not something else. And he basically, after I told him that, like not long time passed and it was like, so I have an offer for you. You want to be my partner and take over the company in 5 years? And I was like, sure. But I just said sure because it was like, why not? I mean,
That was just before COVID, right?
that was before COVID.
Wow.
I mean, so I became partner like February 4, 2020.
Oh,
Good luck to my partnership. So it was, it went well, I would say, but different than what was planned. So, that was the plan of being partner. And then it was COVID. So everyone knows that things were not that linear.
that's the nicest way I've ever heard anyone describe the COVID experience. It was not that linear. So thank you.
No, it's not that linear. It's not, definitely not that linear. It still is not that linear. But so basically I think I became partner that I thought that more than that I could not experience. I mean, I thought it was quite a challenge. And so the 5 years were coming and we just decided to continue with what we had in mind. Obviously, I did it in a way with some lightness in the sense that today I feel a bit more pressure than when I decided to do it. But I also, I put on the table a few consideration, and one is that I'm very confident on the quality of the work we do, and I'm not saying the design taste. I'm saying the quality of the work we do. So I was like, that one I know I can deliver.
Okay, obviously the design is great, but it's really like your whole process, the quality, your deliverables, and like serving up a, a package, that quality you're talking about, like make the
Yeah,
whole process easy.
I think is after I mean the the studio that Tihany has been in business for more than 40 years. There are not that many firms that have this kind of experience. I've been with Adam for almost 20. So I learned something from him. And I think there are people here that, are for me, more than their family. And they are the people that, it really welcomed me when I was an intern and I learned under them and I'm still learning with them because I think, right now we kind of, complement each other in different ways than back then. But I know that, like there was no risk on say, if I'll take over, there is something that I don't know what to do or that we don't know how to do it. So that was one thing. I said, okay, here I know I'm pretty confident we can deliver. I have a good team, so that's why, and I know that would have stayed with me. So, by myself, I can lead, I can guide, I have a vision, but I need them to deliver. So that was like, one thing. I'm really attached to them. I'm really, really close to them, and in a way, like. I don't say often, but maybe like the responsibility of, if I don't take over what's going on, I kind of like, being on that, feeling a bit the responsibility of saying, well, like they also maybe rely a little bit on me and kind of, that was like the other things that I was like, well, then I think I have to. And you don't do it for the others. You shouldn't do it for the others. You should do it for yourself. But I think and I hope it's like two ways commitment here. And we are doing good project. At the beginning of the year, we got signed on some project that I was very, very close to, and I just want to keep working on those. And so there were a series of factors that I said, yes, it's now, today, like the industry is like up and down. So I don't know if I sleep every night, but, I also know that there were solid base to do it.
I wanna so when someone embarks on that entrepreneurial journey, there's a decision tree that has to happen, right? It's like but the 2 biggest ones, I would say, it's kind of a binary choice. You're gonna take that step. Are you gonna buy something or are you gonna build something? So, when you originally went to Adam and said, "I wanna do something on my own," and then he said, "Well, let's talk," because obviously he sees that you're a gem, you're super intelligent, you're incredibly hardworking, and you've kind of come up through the organization. What considerations did you make if you were to like fill out your decision making process to continue this partnership and buyout route versus starting your own? And I know you talked a little bit about everyone sitting
Right.
behind you and the team and the work, but what were some of the other inner workings as someone who was wrestling with this decision?
Well, there's been time where, there is the excitement of something new, meaning starting something new. There was like, I thought of it. I was like, oh, I don't know, that is can be interesting. I could do this and that. I could take it with a bit more like of a relaxed, schedule. And but then in reality, someone has to also give you your first project. Otherwise, it becomes remain a dreams. And I'm not saying, you know, there is a comfort level on continuing what you're doing because you don't need to um, start everything from zero in a way. So you are like, but there is also so you don't need to start really everything from zero. But at the same time, sometimes I feel like it's a startup
Mm.
because there are also a lot of things that I want to change or I want to make, a bit different. And when things are already in place, it's much more difficult to change them than starting from scratch and clean. So it's been. I thought a lot. I think that the motivation I mentioned, which was the team, the client that we have, and the fact that I know that the company has a solid foundation. Was surely the one that maybe decide to take the risk on the investments because if I was starting something by myself, I would have I would have not had to pay as everyone that is an entrepreneur. No, but overhead, salary, insurance, 401k, and all of that, which is they are like quite substantial. So there is like there is that you put on the plates, and you're like, you also kind of I really like didn't want to leave what I'm doing. And I think the downside, I mean, and not to discourage anyone that wants to start their own things, because I think I always treated this office, this studio as mine. So I think that was also the fact why I took it over, is because I always work here as if it was mine. I mean, from, you know, going after the fact that if we print the landscape or horizontal, we waste more paper, and, paper costs money, and, things like that. That really goes, I think, is what Adam really appreciated. Um, but there is also the other things that, when you start your own, I mean, at the beginning, if you want to do the project we are doing now, I need to make the client, in a position that you feel comfortable that they can deliver. And you can deliver if you have a team, because today I think for certain projects the schedule are quite demanding, and I that's I want to keep doing what I'm doing. So
I wanna dig into the team a little bit too, because I know you in speaking to you previously and also seeing you speak now, you, like, light up when you talk about them, right? And I find it really I don't know if I've ever heard maybe I've heard of a story like this, but I don't think I've actually ever met someone who started at a company as an intern and then wound up buying the company. So and you did mention that there are people on the team that have been there since you were an intern. So how has that evolution happened, or is it just like it just kind of feels right and it just is what it is? Like how have those dynamics shifted, changed, or like have you reflected on that at all?
I mean, it's like it's sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's harder, because is easy on the fact that with them I am like personal relationship at this point. They're like friends and family, so it's very easy to talk about anything, wherever is an issue, wherever is something good.
Mm,
At the same time, sometimes I feel like a bit awkward, that you're like, I mean, I need to tell you what I want. I mean, it's just kind of it's funny more than awkward, I would say. But as when I started as an intern, these people, Peter, Giselle, and few others that obviously are around me, they really, I don't know, they really mentor me in a way that is always what I highly, highly appreciate, and always try to give back since I was, not on this position, but even as a junior when we had an intern. I always kind of look at, and I think I try to do this in life, to try to, when I see something that impressed me in the sense of like how people treat other people, obviously on a good way, I'm like, well, that's nice. I think I should try to do more of that, and try to, carve more time with my team, and try to spend more time on explaining why certain things, because I remember what they did with me, and eventually I think um, worked out. And again, these days they still have the know-how of, like, taking certain decision. I mean, my role is more of define the vision of a project rather than the technical detail that, they can do it. They don't need me to tell them how to do certain things, which is the good part for me. But if we discuss what we want this to be, what design sensibility, then, is where I have to lead, or decide, and that's what I do in every project. So it's nice. I mean, I think we have a good I think we have a good chemistry as well, which I think is important. So
I think going back to your previous conversations with you and also your definition of what hospitality means to you. Um, I think Hilton did a really cool thing when they renamed back of house heart of house. And that really echoes with what I hear you say as far as, you're working on these iconic projects and okay, it's great as the guest, but how do you really give consideration to focusing on that heart that is the lifeblood of any restaurant or hotel or resort to giving wonderful space and making space for the people that are working there so that they can it helps them meet the guests where the guests are at and just how do you build that into your overall process? And I know it's so important to you, but we as end users never really get to see that.
One of the things that when I have to do, the speech of what we do at Tihany, I think is what I start with. I don't start with what we do in terms of design. I start what we do in terms of, space planning, because I think, yes, is key. And I think is an aspect that is so important, because even more than design in a way for me, and it's where we start in every project, right? I mean, the first things you do is making sure that the back of house works, the front of house works, and so circulation and this how you move people through the space, and how people just get, for example, in a restaurant, to serve without seeing the good part and the back action, if you know what I mean. You don't see the backstage, but the backstage is so well organized that you just get to enjoy the perfection of the service. That's the way we think about it. And this, I think this comes for me, from the way that Adam, I think, taught me of how to plan restaurant design. I always been amazed how he could see from like a plan that is blank, like a space planning that I am pretty sure very few could beat, if not no one. I mean, I really, and that is like what I really, really in the years spent time on understanding and absorbing, because once this is done well, basically the design is done. I mean, once the space planning and everything works, we don't do the core, we do interior architecture. I always say it's like everything kind of like takes shape, and it's just already halfway defined and designed.
Alessia, I want to dig into that one for a second on okay, so let's just say let's start with every organization from small to large. There's certain institutional knowledge that in smaller companies there could be a bottleneck with, let's say, like an Atom or in any other company who has this superpower that not everyone else has. So let's take space planning. How did you, on your career journey and developing your relationship and mentor mentee relationship with Adam, how did you get that institutional knowledge out of his head so that you could learn from it and that everyone else with you could learn from it? Because I think a lot of companies, I think that okay, you could be around someone all the time and be working with them, but there is a way to learn from that, and there's a process to get it out, and it troubles many organizations.
I think, was be funny, when I sit down with Adam, I usually, especially in the last period, I could easily finish a sentence or know where he wanted to go before he was going there. So, it became easy at the end. It wasn't at the beginning.
Is that because in the beginning you were still trying to figure out what a resume or what a portfolio was?
Well, at the beginning, I can tell you many stories. When I was first year in Rome, I started to do my first DD set, and I'm not going to deviate too much, but I sit down, and next to me was Marco, which is still with me at the company, and he was doing DD set for quite some time, and me, I had to do my first DD set. Then Andrea was like the studio director, and just said, "Okay, just mark up all the detail you need to do." I look at him and I was like, how do you know which detail you have to do? I have no idea how to figure that out. So once you see the forest, maybe then you understand, the pieces. But with Adam, it was at the beginning, like, I just see him doing this space planning and was like, how do you even, come up with these things from a white piece of paper? And he has a special talent. So, eventually you don't pick up everything, because, something is just in you. But I think you can learn the way of thinking and seeing or analyzing a space. I think that you can learn it. And once, I don't know how many restaurants Adam design, how many restaurants we have in our, you know, uh, portfolio that we can look at. But if you're curious, which I'm very curious, and you want to be and you're eager to go spend time, so you need to put your effort on it. It's not just you look and you learn. Um, and you analyze things, you can see that there is a method behind. It's not completely random. Yes, he has a vision. You can have a vision, but there is logic behind certain things because they have to function. So they're functional. They're not. So eventually, you start to kind of guess that you have two, three options to make something work.
But there is a logic to it. Well, okay, white paper for anything. Someone has a superpower to turn that white paper into something. There is there's a logic, there's a process. You can kind of see it, but how did you get to understand the nuance? And I'm not saying, I think you probably have a superpower like he does. But like, is it just a matter of being there and rolling up your sleeves all the time? Would you speak extemporaneously about like how he's seeing that white paper or what the constraints are? I because I see that as space planning, but if you could take out how you got his institutional knowledge out, how could others take what you and Adam did together to build this partnership? Um, how could they apply that in aspects of their lives where they're struggling with their mentor of trying to get superpowers out of their head?
And I think if you have someone in the company, like, that you are close to and you work very closely, you create this relationship. I mean, Adam and I, we work very, very closely. I mean, I was, for example, on this space planning, I remember very well, we had to redo Amber, the mother in Hong Kong, right? I mean, we had the meeting with the chef, he told us what he wanted to do in the new Amber with the new renovation, and so what his vision was for the food. Where we designed the first time Amber, so we had to redesign, which is one of the most complicated things I think you can get asked, because especially if it's a place is iconic and works, it's almost like you're like, no, ask me something else, not what I already done, because it's hard. But he explained us, and I remember I was sitting here at the office with Adam. We sit down with the plan, and I described to him the way I felt the chef wanted the restaurants. I said, if I have to describe this for me, it's something like a garden of like I said, a sculptural garden or Richard Serra or something, where I imagine this kind of banquet partition, floating in the space, and create these private things because you wanted to have kind of privacy in the middle of their space, which otherwise is. And I just kind of describe in this kind of sketch over. You said something like this. I said, yeah, something like this, and this kind of with the plan, you try to put what you have in your mind a little bit. So is then you start to kind of sketch ideas and then make sure that then it works. And you're like, okay, where's the kitchen? Where is the thing? Where the service come? Where the service station goes? How do you hide it? How do you make sure that it doesn't face the things? And then you get all these functional things that get your design shape in a certain way. That's, but it's also, I believe is also, you need to have it a little bit. You need to, it's something that you at least need to like to do it. But it's an exercise. I think more you do, more you learn. It's like, I've been the one doing all the mood boards for our company for the last maybe 10 years, meaning that, I do the first vision of the project through the mood boards, because I'm not amazing at sketching by hand. And my way of seeing a space is like, imagine it through images that usually I manipulate. So I don't take an image and put it there. But I used to do a lot of like, Photoshop work by manipulating these images and creating the one I have in my head. And, I remember, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago when I was first doing the first mood board, I was doing one mood board in a week. I mean, in the last time when, I was doing mood board with Adam, I could draw 3 in a day, meaning that I kind of also, I mean, I knew how to represent things. You grow as a person, and I think you have a way of, expressing yourself that you get confidence and you just. But this was as an exercise. If I tell you how many mood boards I have done, I think usually people ask me where can I find something that I need for a mood that, and I know exactly maybe it was something similar. I could find it or things. I when I started as an intern um, one of because I was good with the programming and with the software, so I think they were using me also for that. But I remember that, and this goes back. It's not just to tell the story, but it goes back the way I've been trained to work, and now I want to keep and even more going back to that. But we're doing these mood boards, and Adam was so particular on the fact that if we put something on the mood board, everything had to be chosen and in, you know, not just be there because it was filling a space. Meaning, if you put a flower, you want to make sure that you pick the vase and you pick the flower. So I was doing flower arrangement in Photoshop by, picking like all the flower that I wanted on that things for and the vase and the things. And I was like, doing all this work, which, maybe today I wouldn't do it, but it was just the things that we care about every single detail we were showing to a client.
But you know what, Alessia, I would say with you though, just in my limited work experience with you, you're setting the vision, like you said, on a project. But I also see you as a very detail-oriented person, right? So now that you're focusing more on vision and setting a project up and like the operations of and making sure the business is going, do you miss getting into the detail and picking out those like those flowers?
I'll still do it. The fact that I'll just direct someone when I want, so I still do it. I think, one thing that the people always ask me, and I don't know, I don't know if I have an answer, but I like the creative aspect, and I also person. Yes, I'm very detail oriented and organized. I mean, I do love math and science in a way that is a conflict with someone that is creative usually. So, you know, also now in the business, I do a new business, reading legal contract and doing the creative aspect. But I still do. I mean, I still look at every single things as Adam was doing, and this is what I want to continue doing because I think it would make a difference. Is I still look at every single detail after we finish a set of drawing or a set of specifications. So I make sure that the details are designed as I expect to be designed, and if they're not, I'll make a comment. So I don't draft it myself, but I'm still behind that. So I don't miss it because I'm doing it just through the hands of at time to the hands of someone else. But um, I'm still there.
Let's do another thought experiment. So now you're the leader principal at Tihany. You have a great team. You have an incredible foundation, like we've said. How are you approaching the marketplace of potential clients now who have heard of Tihany, um, but for whatever reason never had the opportunity to work together? Pretend that all those people are listening right now. Like, how do you position yourself as Tihany today and looking forward to the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tihany today is, I describe it as a solid company with, a very good experience. I mean, as I said, it's more than 40 years that is in business. Um, and at the same time as is a company that, while at times you get recognized for project that, is not very important for our history or our portfolio. And like Le Cirque or y'all in Vegas is not necessarily what we do as a company. I think the sensibility evolved with also with the fact that I'm leading the company, and not that was not good what we were doing before, but I think for some people, we Adam did such iconic project in the past that people just got stuck to that two or three projects. But and they are very iconic, which are very colorful or very playful, and not every project that we do is like that. So I think, this is what usually I try to explain. If you like that, we can do that, but it's not necessarily what we do every day. It's something we are proud have been done, yes, but we also, right now in a month we're really completing a residential project in Hawaii. And when people look at it, they're like, "Oh, this is Tihany," because is a language or a style that perhaps was not that present in the portfolio before. It's also the fact that it was a project that we haven't done a project of that type before. So that also goes. Now we're working on a mountain resort. It's the first mountain resort we're gonna have in our portfolio, so it's surely gonna show something new, and it's gonna shape under my sensibility. So what I think is Tiani is different than maybe other firms, is the fact that we really every project that we do is really different in terms of design, and is really tailored to the client, the location, and the type of property. So you can really have two different top projects. It doesn't mean that they might have like a sensibility at the background that is hard to describe, because it's kind of an instinct that comes out of what I like or what I don't like. How can I describe it? It's just like I usually like everything that is expensive, but there's another no, but we do a lot of like tailor projects. So that's why they're all different. Every time we come up, we really make our life difficult. If we could do it, you know, as a repetition, it would be much easier. But we don't like to do that.
Got it. Again, I think as we were talking and just watching you light up about all the things that were making you light up, it's I was going through my head trying to think if I've ever met anyone who started a company as an intern and became the owner, and I just can't. So I just, aside from you already being unique in my brain, and just a wonderful human, it's just even more so. So and I'm so glad that we talked here, because even in the prep, I didn't realize all these things that you had done. Um, and it's just super exciting and inspiring. So I I'm hopeful that this conversation will inspire others and let people see you in a different light that I just, even having known you for so many years, I just didn't know. And it's crazy. And I'm sorry for not knowing that. Um I feel like I could be better. So you're inspiring me to be better. But I want to, if the Alessia, the unique Alessia that I'm speaking to right now, were to go back in time to your 19-year-old self where you met Adam, where is it, was in Milan where he gave you his card first?
Yes.
What advice do you have for your younger self?
You know what? I don't have any regret. I would redo everything I did. I really I think I have two philosophy that I follow. One is like, you know, that if you want something, you should try to get it. And if you don't try, is like, if you don't try, you don't get it. That's it. But if you try, you don't get it, you didn't lose anything, because if you were not trying, you would have been on the same spot. So eventually you can only gain from that. Doing it in the right way, though, with persistency, but in a very kind of polite way. And I think I did that at every step. I really don't have any regret. I work a lot of hours. That's sometimes I question it, should I work a bit less? But I always loved what I was doing. And so I think at the end, the answer is like, I always did what I felt it was good at that time.
And don't use landscape paper when you don't have to.
No, no, absolutely don't, because you know how much it costs, that glossy paper, no. But no, and again, if I have to give a piece of the advice, would be to follow the instinct, follow your instinct. Like as I said, when I made this choice of buying the company, I doubt, and I didn't know. I don't still don't know how it's gonna go. I just do everything with much of uh, love and from my heart.
Mm,
But I think I just follow my instinct because you can't know. So if you do it because you feel it's the right things, you always do the right things.
bravo. I love it. If people wanted to learn more about you or Tihany, um, what's the best way for them to do that?
Oh, they can, see our website or send me an email.
Got it. We'll get that up in the show notes. And again, I just want to say thank you. I know we've been talking for years. I remember just wanting you on this, and thank you for coming and sharing your story because I really think that your experience on your journey is, I know it's going to impact and inspire others. Um, and I know it has me already, and my wheels are turning. So um, I just wanted to give you a wholehearted thank you for just being your awesome self.
No, thank you, Dan, for having me. And I am really. I hope I can inspire someone who's doing, as I said, follow their dream and don't think too much what's gonna happen. You'll figure it out.
Exactly. Well, and so thank you. And also just thank you to all the listeners. And I know um, I just get such incredible feedback from all of you. And I know I'm going to get really great feedback and sources of it. And like, just, oh, thanks for the conversation with Alessia. It was super inspiring. I didn't even know I could do that because I didn't know you did it. But like everyone, we've grown by word of mouth, maybe some LinkedIn stuff, but pass this along if it inspired you, or you think of someone who's like at that decision point. Pass it along. Follow us, like it, leave ratings, leave comments. It all helps get the word out to inspire others. um, so thank you all.